In a world where information is power, the CBD industry finds itself at a crossroads. The recent developments surrounding the establishment of an acceptable daily intake of 10 milligrams of CBD in the UK by the Food Standards Agency have sparked debates, uncertainty and concerns. Whilst this ADI is not legally binding at the moment, it's expected to become the standard for all CBD products, irrespective of their source. The question arises, is this ADI based on sound science and robust data? And can we trust the decision makers behind it? Imagine if every toxicological report for CBD products were laid out on a table, right? Readily accessible for all industry stakeholders. It may sound like a lofty goal, but it's worth considering. In the realms of cannabinoid regulation, after all, transparency can be a game changer. The FSA has utilised 3 specific tox reports to derive the 10 mil ADI, which is intended to safeguard public health. However, as discussions and disputes arise, it's become evident that not everyone agrees with the data, its interpretation, or the independence of the decision-making process. Conflicts of interests, for example, sometimes left undisclosed, further raise concerns about the impartiality of the decisions. The paradox here is that whilst some claim that the current ADI is rooted in safety, others argue that it may not accurately represent the reality of CBD products' effects. To ensure a more balanced approach to CBD regulation in the UK, it's crucial to challenge the status quo. By making tox reports publicly available, we open the door to industry-wide scrutiny. With access to all the data and analyses, we empower industry experts to evaluate the decisions made by regulatory authorities, such as the FSA, and assess whether they align with scientific rigour and the industry's best interests. But sharing tox reports alone may not resolve all of the challenges the CBD industry faces. To achieve a comprehensive solution, we propose, I propose the creation of an independent industry body, a council composed of representatives from every tox report shared and a couple of impartial scientists. These scientists would not only be capable of interpreting the data accurately, but would also declare any interest that they may have, ensuring the focus remains on the industry's well-being. The purpose of this council is to provide an impartial and objective perspective on tox report data and how it influences regulatory decisions. It would act as a safeguard against conflicts of interest and bring a new level of transparency to cannabinoid regulation. Transparency can be the remedy to the uncertainties and concerns that currently plague the CBD industry. It's time to open the doors to the knowledge within tox reports and establish an impartial body capable of scrutinising and interpreting the data. By taking these steps, the industry can gain more control over its future and ensure that regulatory decisions are based on a solid foundation of evidence and industry-wide cooperation. It's an intriguing idea, isn't it? I mean, I've already talked to a couple of people. 2 people have given me their opinions. One says it's a good idea, one says they don't know. And I can understand that because people have paid a lot of money for that data to ensure that their products get through the novel foods process. But we know that there's a re-evaluation of the public list very soon, presumably within the first part of next year. But the issue there is that we've got over half of that list still defined as awaiting evidence. So what happens to them? And it's not just them, is it? Because that ADI will become rubber stamped. And then when that happens, then we got different problems. More specifically on this would come when the first products are authorized, because it's reasonable to assume that they will be on the basis of that ADI. And if that's the case, then you can't have products going through a system that breach that ACI when products have been authorized on the back of it. It doesn't smell like a nice situation, in all honesty. You could say it is what it is. And in some situations, I've even had people turn around and say, well, isn't that the way it was always supposed to go, Kev? Well, with that attitude, yes. But then think about your duty of care here in regards to this data and whether it is or was ever placed on a table for public scrutiny. All right? We as an industry need to be honest with the consumer, but we as an industry feel that the FSA isn't being honest with the consumer. Those people who have tox reports and several sub-license holders underneath them, well, you don't just have a duty of care to the consumer, you also have a duty of care to those who are on your application. So is it in your interests to potentially share that data? And then is it just a duty of care to those who are sub-license holders and the consumer? Well, no. It's the industry as a whole. Certainly now, and especially when we know that public list, which, let's be honest, has been a lie since the start, because I can tell you straight off, some of the early authorized products will have not existed on 130220. You know that, I know that, the FSA know that. But despite complaints from me, which the FSA is still yet to deal with, and other people's concerns, that doesn't seem to matter. So how do we stop this cycle of us all seeing rules being broken and concerns being dismissed? I can only think of one way, and that's a way that protects the industry. And that is to create an independent body, temporary, because at the end of the day, as soon as novel foods is done, it won't be needed. But a temporary council, right, created of people who represent each one of those tox reports submitted and within ownership of the FSA at the moment, as well as a couple of scientists who would not just be able to interpret data on those toxicology reports, but also identify whether the FSA and of course the Centre of Toxicity and the Advisory Committee on Novel Foods and Processes have done their job properly. I mean, half of them don't even declare their interests properly, so that would be a flat no anyway. But I do think that this is some way that the industry can fight back. And that's the thing. It's fighting back in a sensible way that not just ensures that we're aware of the data that's on the table and being adjudicated by the FSA, but it also ensures that the FSA know that their decisions and directions are being scrutinized. So, yeah, let's have this conversation. I think it's important. Let's have this tete-a-tete, as it were. Let's decide whether, at the very least, what I'm suggesting here is a good idea. I mean, you could say it's not a good idea, which will be a shame, because, you know, I think we could be running out of ideas here. But hey, let's have a chat in the comment section below. Come on, say something, like, react, go boo, go yay, ramble, who cares? Let's just have a conversation. Take care.